views and opinions expressed in this program are those of the participants and do not necessarily reflect the views of BronxNet or the program underwriters.
Hey everybody, I'm the Dr. Bob Lee and welcome to Open BxRx. It's our special coverage of COVID-19, current events in our community and beyond. We've got it going on for you. Coming up on today's show, well, we'll talk to the State Assembly Speaker, Heastie, about the recent legislation, police reform, COVID-19, and more. Plus, we'll take a look at a project with the goal to make sure New York City Housing Authority residents have PPE supplies during this pandemic. Then we'll learn about the power of breathing. Breathe in, breathe out, and get one woman's take on how to use your breath as a tool to help you get through these times. Then Bobby C has the latest in the world of sports, and then later on, we'll hear from a DJ about her work in the music world and how she has taken it. Well, she's taken it to where she needs to go, like the Zoom and other social media outlets. Stay tuned. All this and more is headed your way. We are now open. First guest is the Assemblyman. He's Assembly member for the New York's 83rd District and the Assembly Speaker, and joins us to discuss what's happening in his district and the state. We welcome Carl Heastie. Welcome, Assemblyman.
Hey, Bob. Thank you for having me on the show. I hope all is well and your family is staying safe and everything is going well in your circle.
And I see that you're right there side by side with a beautiful young lady.
Mm-hmm. That's my Princess Taylor. She's 11.
There you go. She's gorgeous. Well, listen, thanks for coming on. And I know we have a lot that we've been talking about. There's been calls for changes to the law enforcement and community relations many times before. But what was different this time that New York was able to pass these bills that we're going to be talking about?
I think there were a few factors in why it happened now and maybe not years ago. I think the makeup of the legislature, the fact that there's two Democratic houses, although I will say there was bipartisan support on a lot of the bills that we did pass. But I also think the moment that we're in had a lot to do with it. I think, seeing what happened to George Floyd, I think touched the hearts and I just think the minds and spirits of people all around the world who said that, time has to change. And I think that helped give fuel and momentum to having these bills to be passed.
Yeah. And then we have something called the 50A. Explain that. What is that all about?
Well, in the 1970s, a civil law was passed that allowed disciplinary records for certain classes of employees not to be subject to FOIL, and that's the Freedom of Information Law. And police was one of those groups. And so 50A repeals that law, which now makes disciplinary records for those classes of employees. And as I said, police was one of them, police, fire, corrections, and I believe probation or parole.
And this is one of the laws that garnered the most attention, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, because I think that people, want to know what has been the interaction that police officers have had with the public. And I think that was really the impetus of why 50A was passed. That people just wanted to know, how many complaints did you have when you've done, public interactions? And so I think that was one of the big reasons why 50A was passed.
Yeah, and there's been a repeal of 50A?
Yeah, we call it the repeal because the law that was passed I don't know, it might be 1976, 1974, I don't remember off the top of my head. It was the 50A law gave that exclusion in the civil law, and so that's why what we passed, we repealed that exclusion that was passed in the 70s.
Yeah, and there's also a law that has been passed, several other bills that have been passed that will change the way that police interact with the people of color, particularly young people of color. What does that mean to you?
Well, the STAT Act, which is, that statistics need to be kept and made public on how police interact with people on, I'd say, like nuisance and violations and things that don't reach the level of misdemeanors, because one of the complaints was that communities of color are always over-policed. So the STAT Act would shed some light on those type of interactions between the police and particularly communities of color.
Yeah, and with the rise of gun violence, everybody's talking about it. They said people are shooting all over the place. Many are saying that this is a result of the recent criminal justice reform. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I would say this: the New York Post, which has not been a friend to criminal justice reform, actually did an article and said that, in fact, that the NYPD's own statistics show that there's no real correlation with the bail reform and this spike in shootings. These shootings have happened all across the country. I think we're in the middle of a pandemic. There's pressures on people. There's inter-rivalry beefs that are happening. There's record unemployment, all of it, which is inexcusable. And me personally, is we're in a time where we're looking at systemic racism. It breaks my heart that we have all of these black on black or black or brown on black or black on brown or brown on brown shootings are occurring in our communities, while we're trying to ask people, to end systemic racism. We are, engaging in killing each other. So it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, and in the Bronx, it has been hit especially hard by COVID-19. What are some of the things that are happening out there? Some of the things that your team are putting together in the Bronx and up in Albany?
I think when the state of New York, particularly New York City and even the tri-state area, was hit hard, one of the things we knew we had to strike in is, well, you have to get people tested. So a lot of testing sites were set up. There's one in Co-op City, which is right outside of my assembly district. It's a drive-in. We did mobile sites. Different churches volunteered. They put their hands up and said, you can have our church to do testing for the virus or the antibody testing, and we wanted to make sure that people were fed and were safe. So we funded food pantries. My office is making calls every day into the community to check on people to see if they need anything. I think one of the things that we need to realize in this pandemic is, the quarantine has kind of sheltered people and shuttered people, and we have to take that time to check on people, particularly those in our community who may be a little older, they can't get around. So I always say that, check on your neighbor. If Miss Smith across the street, is an elderly person, make sure she's okay. And maybe when you go shopping, you just say, hey, Miss Smith, do you need anything when I'm from the store? I think we have to look at this pandemic as us taking care of each other. And then the other thing that we've been doing, and we're in the middle of now, and I'd say probably by this weekend, I'll probably be about 85% done in doing in different locations throughout my assembly district. We've been giving free mask and hand sanitizer giveaways because even though the pandemic, we flattened the curve, we have to keep the curve flat. And, I ride around with masks in the car. If I ride by and I see a group of people in my district, people, it's summertime, they're having barbecues, I will give them, a box of masks.
And remind them.
As a reminder, we can't take it for granted. This is not like the flu where it kind of goes away when it gets warm. This is a very highly contagious disease, and we should not underestimate it and think because of the warm weather, that everything is back to normal.
We should put that in that go bag that you were talking about years ago. I think that was during Hurricane Sandy, right?
Exactly.
Make that a part of your go bag. Now, in 2018, there was a big project that you were working on, the YMCA building in your district. It was announced that that you were going to put all that together. And do you have any updates on that?
Well, Bob, in this community in the Northeast Bronx, we never had a real community center been talked about. I often called it the unicorn, something that we knew existed, but we just never saw it. Right. And so in 2018, they began construction of a $60 million YMCA in the Northeast Bronx, near Edenwall, near the Edenwall and Baychester houses in the Bronx and around Cardinal Spellman. And during COVID, we had to shut down construction, or they had to shut down construction in the middle of March. But about a week and a half ago, they started up. And so it was supposed to be completed by the end of this year. We were hoping to have the grand opening, but it looks like now it'll probably be mid-spring next year. But we will finally have a community center up here in the Northeast Bronx. And that's like, to me, my legacy items, something that, hopefully will be here for generations even after I'm out of politics. And when God takes me from this place, it's just something that I wanted to give back to a community that's given so much to me.
Well, we need you around for a long time, and so does Tyler. She's looking up to you to guide her in the right direction. I understand that she's doing a fantastic job in school, and she has a path. She has the right path. She's following in Dad's footsteps. But you said, no, wait a minute. She may want to become something else, like a doctor or something.
She wants to be a doctor. She likes going around, because I think when she was, younger, everybody treated her like a little princess. Being speaker, she'd have the walk of the chamber, the Capitol, and everybody, paid attention to her and babied up. But now that she's grown out of that, she doesn't want to go with Daddy to as many political events anymore. But she wants to be a doctor, and you know what? God bless her for that, because she can have, a great impact on, I'm just thankful she wants to do something, that's community minded, that can help people. And I hope that's the one thing that she learned from me, is that to just do a job. Anybody can do a job to make money, but do a job that's going to help people.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys are proud of one another. She's proud of you always. You have lots of major accomplishments since becoming speaker in 2015. Talk about it.
Well, we raised the minimum wage. All of the criminal justice and police reforms, which again, I'd say on a grander scale, reform in the criminal justice system and how people of color have been treated in this system, I always said was probably the most important thing I thought with me being elected speaker and being the first, speaker, Black and African-American, Caribbean-American to hold that position. I felt that it was important for me to change that course. And so I'd say that's probably the biggest item that was on the agenda. But we've done a lot of good things: paid family leave, making it easier for people to vote. All of these things, I think were important for us to do to have more people engaged. And just, like I said, for elected officials, I don't know if we're ever going to be able to solve all of the ills of society, but I do think it's our job to just make things better than when we took office. And that's kind of the mantra that I've tried to live up to. Just try to make things better.
Sounds good. Any last words going out to our parents, trying to get their youngsters back in school, or people who are out there gunslinging or shooting, or any last words toward people who maybe want to relax as far as not putting on their PPEs or masks out there and social distancing?
I think on the first thing on the schools, we're still trying to work through this, the reopening of schools and how parents will handle this rotation if kids are going to be in school, a couple of days. I think there's still some things that have to be worked out. I'll be having conversations with the the chancellor and the mayor and the state board of regents on it, because we have to look at how these things are being done statewide. So I still think there's some kinks that have to be worked out on those plans. I would say to the people, again, we can't complain about how the system has, treated us as people of color, and then we go out and harm, one another. And we just, we have to love each other, we have to support each other, and we have to take care of each other. And then finally, I would say, again, I'll repeat it, I know the weather is nice, the sun is out, the sky is beautiful, but COVID is real. And I think that we can't take it for granted. And that, even if you think you're superhuman and you can beat it, you can catch it and then give it to somebody who may not be superhuman. So if you think that maybe you don't have to worry about yourself, and don't wear the mask for yourself. Wear it for somebody that you care about. But it is important for us to continue to wash our hands, use hand sanitizer, and wear our mask when we're going to be in public around other people.
Absolutely. All right, the Assembly Speaker, Carl Heastie. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob.
Lovely daughter Taylor there. That's a great shot right there. Take a picture of that, Helen. There you go.
Away.
Whoa, look at that.
So,
hey, thank you, man.
But thank you, as always, for having
you.
me. Thank you for always, not just always giving us great entertainment, but you've always been a great community-minded person. We've done so many civic events together, since I was elected, 20 years ago. So, I want to take my invisible hat off to you for not just being a great radio personality, but also being a great community person as well.
We love you, Mr. Speaker. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Bob.
Assembly Speaker Carl Heastie. We'll take a break. I've got more open coming up next. Hey, everybody. Welcome back. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee. And our next guest is the founder of Share for Life. Joins us with a look at their work in the community. They do a lot of fantastic work. We've done our research. We found out all about you. We welcome Janine Saulsbury to the show. Welcome, welcome, welcome.
Hello. Hi. Thank you again. Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Just share with our audience about the special work that you're doing in our community.
The Share for Life Foundation is a nonprofit 501c3 organization that I founded in 2002. Yeah. What we do is create educational programs and videos to help empower people that live below poverty level in New York City. This is our 18th year anniversary, and we work really close with the residents of New York City Housing Authority.
Oh, great. All right.
Yeah, in all 5 boroughs in New York City. And we've worked in approximately 100 community centers in New York City over the past 18 years.
Look at that. Have you been to Jacob Reese Community Center?
In Queensbridge?
Uh-oh, look at that.
I have, and I've heard so many great things from you from Miss April Simpson. She says you're like her brother.
Oh, look at that.
Yeah, and she's been trying to connect us for some years now, so I have to tell her about this today.
All right, look at that. That's a wonderful connection right there.
We've been working in Jacob Reese for about 5 years now with different programs. We've had youth film and media programs where the young people create their own short films. We recently just had a voters registration, census, and mask giveaway for the residents about a couple of weeks ago.
All right. So when are you doing it again? Maybe we can come out and join you.
Well, we have an initiative called Mask for New York City Housing Authority residents that we we started back in March, and we are doing it like every 2 weeks. We have these different pop-up events. So the next event we're going to have is at Ravenswood Houses.
That's right next door, yeah. See, I was the DJ. I was a neighborhood DJ. So Astoria came down, Ravenswood came down, Woodside, and of course Queensbridge. And we used to go right down to the park and play that music.
Oh, man. And they have the big Father's Day event that they do each year at Queensbridge. So I usually hang out there. So
there you go.
The residents.
All right. So tell us about your masks and NYCHA program. You go all over, some of the places, of course, Queensbridge and where?
Well, since COVID, I was just spending some time asking God, how can you use me in this you know, to help people and to serve humanity. And the thought came up to provide masks for residents of New York City Housing Authority. And there's approximately 500,000 residents that live in New York City Housing Authority. And I'm like, God, how am I going to do that? You know, this is kind of like, I don't know how, but stepping out of faith and believing God, I put together like a proposal of what this will look like. And the next day I saw Governor Cuomo had an initiative for 500,000 masks for NYCHA. The very next day that I put it in the universe. So I called like some colleagues and they introduced me to someone in Governor Cuomo's office and we connected together. And through Governor Cuomo's mask, I helped in distributing the masks throughout the entire Queens area. So that was awesome. Yeah, and then on top of that, it's just happened blessing after blessing. A friend of mine who is a ambassador for Share for Life by the name of God Shamgod. He's former basketball player from Harlem, and I'm from Harlem, so he supports my organization. He introduced us to Puma, who he has a deal with, and they donated another 2,000 masks to the organization. So we've been getting more masks to give away, and we also got a sponsor from Ravenswood Generating Station that's near Queensbridge, and they donated to the organization to give away masks in that area that they're located. So it's just been blessing after blessing. So we're going to continue this throughout the year to give masks out, because as you know, the coronavirus is not going anywhere. You know, it's here.
Yeah, it seems like unfortunately it's going to be with us for a while. You're going to be doing that with the masks. What other things have you been doing before the pandemic?
Well, after the mask, I still was like, God, I want to do more, you know, use me, God. So then I came up with another idea to start a feeding program after watching the news and seeing how many people are in need of food and how many pantries are running out of food due to COVID. So I'm like, okay, I've never done this before, how to? And
so you got a few programs you're working on, all right.
A few. So as soon as I put it out into the universe, again, another miracle. A friend of mine who works at an organization, her name is Priscilla Willis. She works at an organization called Drive Change that provides young people who have any type of involvement with the criminal justice system. They provide them an internship. They provide them a fellowship to become in the coronary field. So they have a lot of food sponsors. So when I told her about this food program, she said, oh my goodness, we've been trying to get this program that we're doing at Marcy Houses because they're right across the street from Marcy. I'm like, oh, wow, that's easy. Let me call the president of Marcy, because one thing Share for Life does, we have a lot of connections with the resident association presidents. We're deeply rooted in the community. And the resident association presidents, as you know, they're the pulse of the community. They know everything that's going on. So I called the resident association president, Ms. Cologne at Marcy Houses, and she was super excited. Like, yes, we want this program. I always wanted to start a pantry, and we talked about starting it. Unfortunately, when we were starting the pantry at Marcy Houses, the president called and said, we have to push this back because there's so much violence going on in the community right now. That there's gun violence. She said there's gang violence between Tompkin Houses and Marcy Houses. You don't know in the middle of the day if the firecrackers going off, if they're firecrackers or gunshots. And she said it's just not safe.
They're a little bit of both,
And it really hurt my heart for so many reasons. Number one, because we know the people who are joining the gangs are Black and brown, young teenagers, and they're killing each other. And the Black on Black crime is increasing, as we have been seeing all over the news. And then what about the residents that live in the community, the senior citizens, the kids that have to live through this? And it was just so sad. And I just was asking God, and I cried for some time and just asking, what can I do? So now I'm starting a youth program. The Youth Council and Youth Committee is a new program that we're looking to start. And we're looking to do a youth town hall also that I'm going to be launching soon. So I would love to share with you more information about that as well.
So you're going to be launching it. When is it going to launch?
Well, I'm hoping to launch early next week. However, the feeding program did launch 2 weeks ago, and we had to replace Marcy houses, but we replaced it with Grant houses, St. Nicholas houses, and Edenwald houses.
Thank you for all that you're doing, and keep us abreast of what's going on, and perhaps we can come out and join you.
I would love that. I certainly would, because, I didn't start off always having as much faith, and, as a teenager growing up in Harlem, my life was much different. So these programs and initiatives mean so much to me, and it's definitely a fulfilling feeling to be able to be used to help other people.
Oh, thank you for all your work. We really appreciate your service.
Thank you.
So where can we go to get more information?
Oh, please go to Share for Life's website, which is www.shareforlife.org. That's ShareForLife.org.
Share for Life, the founder and executive director. Yes, Janine Saulsbury. Thank you so much. And we'll see you soon.
I look forward to it.
Stay on, and I'll give you my information where we can link up in the community. And when you see April, tell her I said hello.
I will. Thank you again for this opportunity.
Thanks for coming on. All right. We'll take a break, come back with some more next on Open. Breathe out. I have the breathing coach on the line, and she's been with us before, and she has some fantastic tips. We welcome Kathleen Booker to the show. Kathleen, welcome.
Thank you so much. I am just really honored to be here with you again. I appreciate all that you are doing, not only in the tri-state area, but also I'm going to know for you in the world. You really are expanding people's consciousness and health, knowledge, everything. So thank you for all that you're doing, Dr. Bob.
And thank you for coming on to BronxNet. I know you have wonderful tips for our viewing audience, and the last time you were here, it was extraordinary. Everybody really enjoyed you, and you had some eye-opening information, and I'm sure you have some for us today too.
Well, as we continue in the world and we think we've reached that plateau, there's something that just takes us a little bit higher on the stressometer. And I'll speak for myself very openly. My mom just passed away 7 days ago. So, thank you.
So our condolences. Sorry to hear that.
Yes, thank you.
Prayers are with you.
I received them. Thank you. And it is an opportunity, not of COVID did she pass, but how do you deal with the stress? So if you have a loved one or a partner or your neighbors, who are experiencing loss, let's say, or illness from this virus, or just the stress of these headlines that are just enough to send you into the stratosphere, the first thing that I offer is very gently take your fingertips and just very gently touch your face, but light as if you're touching a newborn baby. And so you don't stroke a newborn baby, hard. So just touch your face lightly. And then you'll notice that just as you're doing that, your body will instinctively take a nice inhale, and you will physically feel yourself relax as you just did, Dr. Bob. And then what you can do also is just lightly take your fingertips and just touch the center of your chest, which is your heart chakra. The beauty of the breath is that, and this is science, is that it supports us to release cortisol from our body. Cortisol is adrenaline. That's that fight or flight. And we are in a constant state of anxiety, high anxiety. We not only have a pandemic, global, we also have a global protest taking place. So how do you not only, with the pandemic, keep yourself healthy, not think that everybody in the world has cooties? So, and when I say that, cooties, I have to not use slang. Germs, be aware, practice safety, health safety, wear your mask, wear your gloves, practice safety. But in addition to which, how do you keep your mind? How do you stay still engaged in the world and not become fearful and paint yourself in a box? And if you've been called back to work, how do you engage in work not from a place of fear? So the breath really does support you to release not only adrenaline, but it also optimizes your immune system. So what that means is, as you're doing breath work, and I'm hoping that we can do a little bit with the listeners, as you're doing breath work, you are not only creating optimal health in your respiratory system, you're also enhancing your immune system, and you are relaxing your mind, relaxing your body. And from there, you're able to engage. You know, with some of the headlines that they have now, where they're asking us, you know, trackers, they're asking us to tail on each other. It's creating a society of fear. However, we can really root ourselves into what is within us always, even in a pandemic, and that's peace.
Yeah, and you know, with a lot of things going on, I mean, it's been unbelievable, unprecedented, but people are going to be traumatized.
They are traumatized.
Yeah.
Not going to be, they are.
And may not realize it yet. But sometimes it just comes on after you look back and say, wow, look what we've been through.
Yeah.
Of course, some people react to it right away.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to have a nation of traumatized people.
Well, we are all, I say all, suffering from PTSD, post-traumatic stress syndrome. And it's perpetuated with the headlines and the news. That's why I offer to your listeners every now and then, turn it off. Just turn it off. I also offer to your listeners because the collective consciousness energy is so heavy right now. What does collective consciousness energy mean? That the collective consciousness energy is the collective consciousness of everyone around the world in a panic, grieving. I mean, even for myself now, my mom didn't pass of COVID. However, we cannot have the whole family in. How do you grieve? Yet, how do I work? So this collective consciousness is heavy. And I offer to all of your listeners a couple of things. In addition to breath, take a bath or take a shower every night before you go to bed. Why? Because we are walking in this heaviness. Wash that heaviness off of you. Do not, that's my cat, not a child.
Yes, she agrees with you.
That's the amen.
She's agreeing with you.
Yes. So you want to take a bath, you want to take a shower so that you wash off the day. Don't go to bed with all of that heaviness upon you. The other thing that I offer to all of your listeners and beyond is drink a lot of water. First of all, it has been scientifically proven that it not only in our life on GP, on general purposes, but in this pandemic, keep yourself hydrated and take your breath. I will be very honest with you, and I will use myself as an example. With the passing of my mom, I caught myself at one point not breathing. And we will catch ourselves where we're like, oh, wait, did I take a breath? That's wonderful. That is awareness. When you have the awareness of, oh, I'm not breathing, you will breathe. So I also offer to all the listeners, not with, every nanosecond paying attention, but just gently, lovingly notice. Am I breathing?
People don't notice. It's an involuntary action. But when I speak to you and coaches like you, it makes you conscious of your breathing. So you take that deep breath.
even that's too much energy, because it doesn't have to be hard. So you just become aware. You meet your breath where you are. Trust your breath. Meet your breath where your breath is. So for me, I'll use me as an example. My breath was shallow. I met it shallow. And the breath is so brilliant. It just began
shallow, and then you can take it where you want to take it.
The breath will take you. There's not even anything you have to do. If you notice and say, as I did, my breath is shallow, you'll 9 times out of 10 go, sigh. And after that, there is an openness that expands in your chest. So the best way I can say it is, for all of the listeners, trust your breath. Begin to notice, my breath is shallow, or I'm putting a lot of effort in my breath.
And you can use this in many different areas. If you're going on a job interview, or something's going on in your life that you want to just relax yourself or bring yourself together, get yourself together.
Well, absolutely. I mean, we're breathing all the time, thank goodness. But let's say that where you live, there's a protest taking place. You don't feel safe enough to participate, yet you support the protest, right? Let's say that you have, you're going to meet a friend and you haven't seen that friend in a while and you're a little apprehensive. Or your boss has called you in and said, I'd like to meet with you. So you don't know if it's a layoff. Lay your hand right on your chest. If you're in a meeting, no one is going to know. This immediately connects you to your body. Your breath will slow down and you will become engaged, I'm going to say, with your higher consciousness, which is your place of clarity, your place of courage, your place of your authentic voice, and your place of peace. May we do some breath?
We got a minute, yes.
Okay. So everyone, as long as you're not driving, just close your eyes, uncross your arms, uncross your legs, and just begin to feel just that easily how your body begins to soften and relax. And just like a wave comes into shore and then melds back into the ocean, comes into shore, melds back into the ocean. Feel your inhale flow into your exhale flow into your inhale. And right now, feel the power of your breath replenish you, rejuvenate you. Very gently open your mouth, take an inhale, and exhale, saying, ah. Wiggle your fingers, wiggle your toes, and lovingly open your eyes.
How do we reach you?
You can reach me at on my email, Kathleen, that's Kathleen with a K, Kathleen, Kathleen at KathleenBooker.net.
Yes, Kathleen Booker, breathing coach, certified conscious connected breathwork coach. We appreciate you and thank you.
Thank you for all you're doing, Dr. Bob.
Thank you too. Breathe in.
And breathe out.
Breathe out. And we'll take a break and come back with more next.
We begin our look at sports on the NBA hardwood as the association tries to restart from the coronavirus pandemic in Orlando, Florida. The league might be ready to play games, but COVID-19 isn't. 2 of the 322 NBA players who have arrived at Walt Disney World's bubble since July 7th have tested positive for COVID-19 while in quarantine. Meanwhile, roughly 20 players, including Houston Rockets star Russell Westbrook, tested positive during in-market testing since July 1st. Newly signed Brooklynette Michael Beasley also leaves the Orlando bubble with coronavirus. We talked with NBA Hall of Famer and current TNT analyst Charles Barkley at the American Century Golf Tourney in Lake Tahoe about the state of the NBA.
We've seen nothing like this pandemic in our lifetime. We got so many businesses that are ruined forever. We got so many people who are going to be out of work forever. It's changed their life. I just hope none of the players get sick because I think it'll be catastrophic for the NBA to get started and then have to stop. I think it'd also be bad if we have a bunch of star players who get the virus and we don't have a legitimate champion. But if everybody's healthy, this will be a great accomplishment.
The pandemic isn't making the transition back an easy one, but a lot of sports are trying their best, and that includes World Team Tennis. The games are in West Virginia this year. We caught up with Sloane Stephens and Kim Kleisters to discuss the return of tennis.
It took some adjustments to get used to everything, but I think now we've adjusted really well, and a lot of things have become a routine, so that's how we will keep ourselves comfortable, knowing that we are following the guidelines, and that's the job that we will try to do to protect us and to protect others, even when we are competing.
Nobody wants anyone to get sick or be in trouble or be in danger, so I think just being responsible and making sure that you're actively doing what you can for yourself and to protect others, I think is the most important thing.
Back here in the Big Apple, we've got baseball and hockey with no fans. Here's the latest from Yankee Camp.
We've been doing a great job of trying to keep our distance from each other and wear masks when we're inside all the time, and just try and follow the protocols that have been put in place to try and stay as safe and healthy as possible. And, hopefully we can continue to do that.
We have a mission. The mission is win everything, and that is the job. That is the focus, the mentality, and we prepare right now to get there.
Baseball is officially back for now. The National Hockey League and the NHL Players Association complete the ratification process of the league's return to play plan, setting up for a resumption and conclusion of the 2019-2020 season in the anticipated 24-team tournament. With rising cases of coronavirus in the U.S., the hub cities are in Canada, Toronto, and Edmonton. The NHL sets August 1st as the start date of the qualifying round. Training camp for the New York Rangers opened last week. And we've got the latest. Here's more with the Broadway Blue Shirts.
It's fun to see everyone again. It's a weird time right now, and obviously it was a lot of uncertainty. So are we coming back to play and what's happening, and all the safety stuff as well. So now we're here. Everything seems to be good, and guys are happy to be back. Guys are excited for this opportunity that we have right now, and there's a lot of laughter. There's a lot of fun in that locker room. So I'm hoping we will continue where we left off.
I'm not looking too far. I'm taking it week by week right now, and again, the three things I try to control and can control: physical, technical, mental. I feel like I'm well prepared there, and I'm just gonna give it my all here during camp, and we'll see what happens.
We want to pick up where we left off, and obviously, one of the things that's great about where we were is that we really liked a lot of that was going on with the chemistry amongst our lines and our deep pairing. So, I want to give these guys an opportunity to find that again. That might take some time because every guy's had an opportunity to do different things when it comes to staying sharp during this 4-month break and downtime. Some guys have had access to more things than others. So, some guys are ahead of other guys, and that's just the reality of the situation we're in. So we want to give our guys an opportunity. We certainly are putting a lot of stock in what went in during the regular season. Just because a guy has a bad practice today or tomorrow or the next day doesn't mean I'm going to take a guy off one of the top 2 lines and bury him, in a situation that he hasn't been accustomed to. So, we certainly want to give our guys an opportunity to kind of find their way.
No sport has done better with the return than the UFC. UFC President Dana White is committed to holding events during the pandemic. While much of the sporting world has been shut down, the UFC has aggressively sought to find ways to schedule fights. The promotion has already staged fights in May and June in Jacksonville, Florida and Las Vegas. And now the UFC is in Abu Dhabi for a series of events with international athletes who can't come into the U.S. due to travel restrictions. That location has affectionately been called Fight Island, and events began there on July 11th, highlighted by a major pay-per-view fight between Kamaru Usman and Jorge Masvidal. Usman won the battle, the first of a series of great cards for the kings of mixed martial arts. In motorsport, Chase Elliott claims a $1 million checkered flag. The Hendrick Motorsports driver took first in NASCAR's 2020 All-Star race at Bristol Motor Speedway, thus pocketing the grand prize that came with it. Here's Chase.
You know, to me, this is one of those prestigious events that the Cup Series only has, right? I mean, this is a special race on the schedule every year. There's a lot of hype around it. And the other thing about it is, you know, it's something you have to race your way into. And luckily we raced our way into this deal for life now. So, you know, that means a lot.
In IndyCar, the veteran Scott Dixon has been the headliner. He wins 3 straight of the first 4 races of the season, including the road course at Indianapolis Motor Speedway on July 4th weekend. Here's Dixon after the race.
So good to be racing here back at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. We've had, you know, so many runner-up spots here on the road course. It was just nice we got lucky, man. The strategy, the team just nailed it. We got lucky with our caution. But as soon as we got the balance right, man, the PNC bag number 9 just checked out. So it was a pretty easy day towards the end of the part.
IndyCar was in Iowa over the weekend. Here's veteran Tony Kanaan discussing the series return to Iowa.
To me, I just really want to enjoy and just really be in the car and do what I do. And I think that's the best place to be. For me, it's a good track. So hopefully, I'm extremely, extremely hopeful that we'll be very competitive there, which is going to help a lot. And just really enjoy the weekend.
Those are the headlines. We hit the C-list for some commentary on sports outside the lines. COVID-19 might be dominating the headlines, but make no mistake about it, we are seeing changes elsewhere in the landscape of the country outside of the pandemic. Changes for the good, even if it took the worst to make them happen. Case in point, the Washington Redskins. The franchise announces it is officially retiring the team's controversial name and logo after 87 years. Washington's NFL team had used the nickname since 1933. The move comes after years of controversy about the name being racist and insensitive. It remains unclear what the team will be called. The organization says it is working to develop a new name and logo. The education of what's racist and insensitive in this country is continuing in other parts of the NFL too. The Philadelphia Eagles fined Deshaun Jackson after his recent social media post citing a fake Hitler quote. Jackson apologized, but the Eagles told him that if he doesn't commit to supporting his words with actions, he will be released. Jackson accepted a 94-year-old Holocaust survivor's invitation to visit a Nazi concentration camp in Poland. A few days after, the Philadelphia Jewish Sports Hall of Fame extends an invitation to the Eagles receiver to attend its next enshrinement ceremony. It's time for the dehumanizing of other groups to stop. Thankfully, these conversations are taking center stage around the country these days, and resolution seems to finally be upon us. More stars, even in sports, and franchises for that matter too, are being held accountable. My hope is that we move from stereotypical portrayals and much more toward historically accurate narratives. That's your sports. I'm Bobby C.
Yes, show. To the beat, Joe. We're going to keep that beat going right here. I'm the Doc Bob Lee. Welcome back. And our next guest is a DJ who has worked and performed around the country and joins us to discuss her career, the impact of the pandemic, and a whole lot more. I mean, she's doing it a different way now. A lot of people wanted to go online and Zoom it and do this and do that. We welcome DJ Chocolate. Yes, indeed. Welcome to the show.
Hi. Hello. How are you?
Good. So how are you doing it now? I mean, you don't have to bring any equipment out. You don't have to get dressed. Well, you do from the top up, you know. And
right. I still try to keep it, you know, keep it ladylike, and so
yeah, like if you're going out, right?
Head to toe, I'll do a little something. I'm just may not put on my heels. So
there you go.
You know, you may get down to my feet, and either I'm barefoot or I have on some socks. But but literally, it's been amazing. It's definitely been an adjustment. But I basically kind of walk down the hall. From my living room or my bedroom to my home studio, and I turn on and rock out. So it's been an adjustment, but I can't say that I don't like it.
It's like the new normal. I mean, you know, you weigh the difference. You want the people in front of you. You want to see that crowd out on the dance floor and see how they react to whatever you throw on. You know, they may, did you hear that?
Yeah.
You know, and how, you know, you want to know if they're gonna keep dancing, right? But you know that you can. Now you have to visualize it. It's like being on radio as opposed to being on TV. On radio, it's the theater of the mind. You have to wonder what they're doing, but you know from your experience out there.
Oh yeah.
So how has it been different for you? Because I know you'd be out in the clubs and different places like that, but now you're in the studio.
Well, it's as you mentioned, it is actually similar to radio, and that is my background. So that's a great compare. Yeah, I'm a vet, I guess, because of the number of years now that I've been in and out. You know how that goes of radio, but it is definitely a theater of the mind situation. But I think I've been very fortunate with some of the gigs that I've done where I can feel the energy anyway. With people interacting with me in the chat rooms, and then there have been situations where I can see people's faces on the screen, and some of them are like this, and some of them are, you know, getting into it and stuff, and I'm like, you know, you still can talk to them and get them to respond and react and everything, but it's different from being in front of a crowd. But I can say because of that virtual barrier, if you will, I'm able to kind of internalize my vibe better and really take the audience on a journey. So I'm taking something away from the virtual situation that I will definitely implement the next time I'm able to get in front of people, which I'm not rushing, you know, I'm not rushing at all, but
I know that's right.
I'll take.
You don't have to rush to get dressed, put on heels or anything. We spoke about theater. You got into the theater and acting and all that. Talk about that experience.
So I was fortunate enough some years ago to hook up with a theater company out of Detroit, Michigan. And what it was a small theater company, and gave me a bit of the bug. And we traveled all over the country for about 4 years, off and on. And I was able to perform original pieces and original characters. And so I've continued that and gotten back into theater as of a few years ago. And I've been performing here locally in the area with a Black theater company. And have been auditioning for, you know, roles, television roles and film roles and everything. So it's
we would love to see you on TV. Go ahead.
Well, hey, that's the goal.
Bring it. But wait a minute. Now, the road is kind of tough, right? How do you deal with that?
It comes with the job, comes with the territory. I look at it as just a way that you can meet people. You can expand your mind. You get a chance to see different places, and of course, different being a music lover, each part of the country or the world that I'm able to travel to, everybody has a different flavor. And so by me getting a chance to taste their flavor and interpret it my way and give them something musically that will satisfy their taste, it makes it all better. So the road is a beautiful place.
And you have a platform. What's the Greek platform all about?
I do. So Grown in Greek is
Grown in Greek.
Grown in Greek. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, which is the first Black Greek letter sorority. It's a platform that was born a few years ago, and the mission of Grown in Greek is to connect, share, and empower the Black Greek experience. And so what we've done, my team and I have done, is over the last 3 or so years, is to try to find impactful people and stories and partnerships and share those in order to make sure that we are continuing the message of philanthropy, of togetherness, of energy that brings the culture together. And so the platform has grown, tremendously, where we've been able to connect with so many people, you know, across the country, and we're continuing to grow. You can find it and find the TV aspect at growningreektv.com. So a lot of interviews that we've done with people that are just phenomenal that you probably wouldn't hear about had it hopefully not been for the platform. You can find it at growningreektv.com. We have social media platforms that we've collected information and also connected with people who are just, you know, phenomenal, that I think it's hopefully going to be useful in a way, but it will also just continue to empower others to realize that Black Greek life is impactful, and together we can do so many awesome things.
And Sandra DaCosta and Andre with you every step of the way with the Bouillon Foundation.
I love them. I love them. I love them. Yeah. I can't say enough. I say all the time, I'm probably one of the luckiest girls in the world because of history that Sandra, oh my gosh, her resume is crazy. And so to not only
she's been in the record business.
Man, yeah. She
knows all about
it. She's it. And so to have her as, you know, not only a mentor, but my manager, and then Andre, who's like that brother, you know, that's just like, he's so brilliant. Yeah, I'm a lucky girl.
Website, social media, give it to me.
All right, djchocolate.com. And it's the same thing on social media, but you got to spell it out. So the DOTCOM, you spell that out, but it's djchocolate.com.
I love it. Thank you so much. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Of course. Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Yeah. DJ Chocolate. Chocolate.
Yes, sir.
Chocolate.
Chocolate. That's how they say it in Dominican Republic. Chocolate.
Yeah. Chocolate. 107.5 WBLS. Chocolate.
What you said.
107.5 WVLS. Chocolate. Hey, thank you so much for hanging out with me.
Thank you.
All right. We'll see you very soon.
All right. Bye-bye. All right.
Much love. All right, we'll take a break, and we'll come back to some more Open next. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I have an attitude of gratitude. I want to thank you so much for tuning in and checking it all out. Unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today's show, but wait, there's more. Keep it right here. You can follow us on BronxNet for continued coverage. I'm the Dr. Bob Lee. Always remember this: what you are is God's gift to you, and what you make of yourself is your gift to God. So choose your choice, and let your choice control the chooser. Keep your head up, put the guns down, stay safe, keep your mask on. If you have PPEs and you need those, use those too. We'll catch you another day, another way. We love you all. Peace.